In dealing with debt, several do's and don'ts with credit cards. Joining us now, Ted Rossman. He's a senior industry analyst at creditcards.com. Always good to see you there, Ted.
Hi, Angie.
There are a lot of credit card myths and mistakes out there that people can easily make and easily avoid. What do you have for us?
There are some common credit card missteps out there. And one myth that I would really like to put to rest is this idea that you need to carry a balance in order to improve your credit score. That is definitely false. The best way to use a credit card is to pay on time and in full each and every month. Credit card rewards are great, but they only work for you as long as you're paying in full and avoiding those high interest rates. And speaking of rewards, another mistake that I see is people who fail to get a sign-up bonus because they didn't hit the required criteria. You often have to spend anywhere from a few hundred to a few $1,000s within the first few months to get that bonus. So you definitely want to be organized, make sure that you hit that amount, ideally with spending that you would have done anyway and that you can pay in full before interest hits, but make sure that you hit that required threshold. Otherwise, you're going to lose out. You're not going to have any bonus points to show for it. And realize also that if you return something, those funds are going to not count against that spending threshold. So you want to make sure that you satisfy all the requirements and you get that bonus that you're entitled to.
All good points, Ted. What about cash advances? I've always believed the rule of thumb is do not take a cash advance unless you absolutely have to, and then always have a plan to pay that money back as soon as possible because there are so many fees and high interest rates attached.
Cash advances are generally a very bad idea. The average interest rate is even higher than normal credit card transactions. It's often something like 25%. There's usually not a grace period, so it's going to start hitting right away. That interest rate's going to start accumulating. There's usually another fee as well, maybe 3 or even 5% of the cash advance. You're going to have to pay that upfront. And I think what especially gets people in trouble is sometimes they don't realize what is a cash advance. This might be using a credit card at an ATM, or it might be certain transactions, gambling purchases, bail bonds, wire transfers, traveler's checks, money orders, even those convenience checks that you get from issuers sometimes. Those often count as cash advances. So you definitely want to avoid those high fees and high interest rates.
What are your tips for authorized users of a credit card where the person is using someone else's card, such as a parent who gives a card to a teenager?
You have to realize that you, as the primary account holder, are the one who's liable for all of the spending that authorized user makes. So you really want to choose somebody who's going to be responsible. This could be a really valid way to help a child, let's say, build his or her credit score, or maybe it's an easy way for you and your spouse to combine forces on an account. There's lots of good reasons to have an authorized user. But you also want to make sure that you're picking somebody responsible and that at some point, some people should come off your account. Like if you get divorced or you break up, a business fails, you don't want your ex-business partner, your ex-husband, your ex-girlfriend, children too. It makes sense to a point, but there's probably a point that you want to take that adult child off the account so that they stand on their own 2 feet. It's a good way to build credit, but it's probably not an everlasting relationship. And the primary account holder is fully responsible for the authorized user's charges. So those are some things that I would be aware of. Use those credit cards, but pay them off and you'll be just fine.
Always a wealth of information. Thank you so much, Ted.
Thanks for having me.
Go to businessfirstam.com for where to see our show on TV.